You wake before sunrise to bells rolling over the Thames. Each toll hangs in the cold air. It is the year 1348. Smoke drifts from low hearths. Nearly 50,000 souls sleep within the old Roman walls. A woman beside you whispers. They ring early. They always ring, you say, pulling your cloak tight. At Ludgate, hinges groan. A guard lifts the bar. Open for trade, he calls. Show your mark if you sell. I have my guild seal, a cobbler answers, holding up a leather stamp of the Cordwainers Company. Paid my due. You pass Aldgate as carts rattle in. A collector stops a farmer. Lay subsidy still stands, he says, by the roll of 1334. What goods? 2 sacks of barley, the farmer replies. And onions. Market, the collector says, scratching a tally. Near Billingsgate, a fishmonger curses softly. No wine ships from Gascony, he tells you. Delayed since June. They say sickness came ashore in Dorset. What sickness, you ask? Men swelling, dying in days, he mutters. From Melcombe, they say, a boatman spits into the river. Trade runs on the Thames, he says. Wool out, wine in. If ships halt, we starve. Bells sound again from St. Paul's. A boy tugs your sleeve. Is it true? He asks. Will it reach London? You look toward the grey water. The gates are open, you say, and the river never sleeps. You walk through Cheapside, the stalls open in the pale light. Wood shutters lift, iron hooks scrape. The air smells of bread and damp wool. Fine rings, true weight, a goldsmith calls to you. He taps his chest. Freeman of the Worshipful Company of Goldsmiths. My mark is filed at the Guildhall. You trust the mark? You ask. You trust the guild, he says. No man sells without oath or fee. Across the lane, a baker pulls loaves from a clay oven. 8 ounces short and they fine you, she mutters. The assize of bread sets the weight by the price of grain. Wheat rises, loaf shrinks. That is the law. How much today? You ask. 2 pence the loaf, she says. And still they watch my scales. A boy runs past with a bundle of tally sticks. Make way, he says. Wool for Flanders. You follow him to a counting board. A clerk splits a hazel stick and reads the notches. 20 sacks from Cotswold, he says. Bound for Bruges. England's wool feeds their looms. Seal it well, a merchant replies. Calais must see it before Michaelmas. You hear coin click. A tax collector steps close. The levy of 1347 stands, he says, granted to King Edward III for the war in France. Every trader pays. We paid last quarter, the merchant answers. You pay again, the collector says. War eats silver. A porter wipes his brow. I carry fleece all day, he tells you. 3 pence earned if I am quick. And guild dues? You ask. Paid, he says, or I lose my place. A bell sounds from St. Mary le Bow. Voices rise and fall. Cheese, fresh cheese. Pepper from the Levant. Cloth, good broadcloth. You stand amid it all. Marks stamped, weights measured, taxes counted, wool packed for ships. The street moves by rule and habit. You walk on as trade flows steady through your hands. You reach the docks by midday. Ropes creak, gulls cry over the Thames. Men stand in small knots instead of working. A ship from Melcombe, a dock worker tells you in a low voice, came up from Dorset. They say the sickness first showed there in June of this year 1348. What sickness? You ask. Buboes under the arm, he says. Black marks. Men dead in 3 days. Another man spits into the river. My cousin trades through Weymouth. He sent a letter sealed in wax. Says half his street is gone. A merchant pushes through. Stand aside. The cargo must be counted. What cargo? You ask. Wine from Gascony, he says, and cloth from Rowan. If the crew lives to unload it, near the customs house, a clerk bends over a roll. Poundage still due, he mutters. A penny in the pound on all imports. Wine, oil, spice. The king's right. King's right means little if sailors fall, the merchant replies. The clerk looks up at you. In Florence, they say tens of thousands have died this same year. Letters from Lombard bankers speak of empty counting tables. Florence is far, you say. The sea is not, the clerk answers. A young sailor grips the rail of a cog. 2 men took fever before we reached the channel, he tells you. We buried one at sea. Who marked the cargo, you ask. The master did, he says. 20 tons of wine, 3 bales of dyed wool, all entered at the port. A bell rings from the quay. No one moves at first. Unload, the merchant orders at last. Trade feeds London, you watch the gangplank drop. The river keeps flowing, slow and grey. You step into the narrow workshop. The loom knocks in a steady beat. Dust hangs in a thin shaft of light. 3 pence for a full day, the weaver says, counting coins into your palm, then taking them back. If the cloth passes the guild searchers, you earn that each day, you ask. If work holds, he replies. 3 pence, sometimes 4 in a good week. But if half the parish falls, who will weave? Who will buy? His apprentice looks up from winding thread. In my father's village, the manor court roll binds men to the Lord, he says. Villains cannot leave without fine. The steward writes every name. You are not bound here, you say. Not to a lord, the weaver answers, but to the guild. The ordinances say no man may set a loom unless he is sworn and has served 7 years. The apprentice nods. 7 years, and fees paid, or the wardens seize your cloth. A woman enters with a basket of bread. You speak of rules, she says. I remember the hunger of 1315. Rain without end. Grain rotted in the field. You were here then? You ask. I was a girl, she replies. Bread rose to double price. Some paid 4 pence for a loaf. Men ate roots. The weaver wipes his hands. That was famine, he says. This is sickness. Sickness still empties bowls, she answers. Outside, a bell tolls once, then again. Parish clerk counts the dead, the apprentice says quietly. Do not count us yet, the weaver snaps. Then, softer. If labour grows scarce, wages may rise, or masters will bar the doors, the woman says. You touch the rough wool on the frame. How many yards today? 10 if the thread holds, the weaver replies. Sold to a merchant bound for Calais. And you're due. Paid to the guild, he says. Paid to the church. Paid in tax when called. The loom beats on. The sky beyond the window dims with passing cloud. No one stops working. You step inside St. Mary Woolchurch. Candles burn low. The air smells of wax and damp stone. A man sits on a bench clutching his side. Look, he whispers to you, pulling back his sleeve. A dark swelling rises beneath his arm. It came yesterday. How long have you had fever, you ask? Since Sunday, he says. I cannot stand long. A priest unfolds a letter near the altar. Dated August of this year 1348, he tells you and the few gathered near. It speaks of great mortality in the ports. What ports, you ask? Dorset first, he replies, then farther south. The writer fears it spreads inland. A woman kneels beside you. My sister in the next lane coughs blood, she says. 3 houses shut their doors this week. Near the chancel, a clerk scratches with a quill. Name? He asks. Thomas at a brook. The sick man answers weakly. Wife? Anne. 2 children. The clerk nods. I mark it in the parish roll. Do not mark me dead yet, the man says. I mark the fever, the clerk replies. The bishop requires record. Tithes and burials both. Outside, you hear a spade strike earth. The yard is near full. A gravedigger tells you when you step back through the door. We buried 6 this past night. 6? You ask. In this parish alone, he says. If this holds through winter, by early 1349 whole households may vanish. A widow grips your sleeve. They say half the city could fall, she whispers. 40 in 100, some claim. Who claims it? You ask. Merchants with letters from abroad. Inside again the priest lifts his hand. Bring tithe as you are able, he says softly. The church must keep the lamp lit. The clerk dips his quill once more. You watch ink darken the page as another name is spoken. You stand near the Guildhall as voices rise behind closed doors. A clerk steps out, face pale. What do they say? You ask. They speak of order, he replies. If labour thins, men will demand higher wages, and will they not? You ask. He lowers his voice. The king will not allow it. There is talk that next year, in 1349, wages may be fixed at the old rate, as before this sickness. A mason nearby snorts. I earn 4p a day when work is steady. If half my fellows die, I will ask 6. You may ask, the clerk says, but an ordinance could bind you to the former pay. A city watchman passes, halberd resting on his shoulder. Gates will close earlier, he tells you. Curfew may sound before full dark. By whose order? You ask. By the mayor, he answers. The city holds charter from the king. We keep peace within the walls. A merchant grips a bundle of tally sticks. Peace will not save my accounts, he says. I lent £20 on wool last spring. The debtor now lies sick. Then the debt dies with him, you say. Or with me, he answers. Another official joins you. Credit binds this city, he says. If tallies fail, trade fails. The watchman taps the stones with his staff. Keep to your homes at night, he warns. Fear breeds riot. You look from the Guildhall to the narrowing street. Law stands firm in word and seal, yet every face measures what tomorrow may cost. You stand by the Thames as darkness folds over the water. Torchlight trembles on the current. A barge drifts past, empty now, though it once carried wool to Calais and brought wine back to Billingsgate. Will the ship still sail? You ask a boatman tying his rope. They must, he says. Trade feeds London. But crews grow thin. A cart rattles along the stones behind you. The driver keeps his eyes low. Make way, he calls, for burial. You step aside. The wheels grind toward fields beyond the wall. A woman near the quay holds 2 small hands. If God spares these 2, she whispers to you, I will walk barefoot to St. Paul's and give thanks. How many have you? You ask gently. 5 this spring, she says. 3 lie fevered. A bell sounds across the river. They dig new pits, the boatman says. Some say by next year, 1349, half the city may fall, 40 in 100, so merchants claim. Who keeps count, you ask? The parish clerks, he answers. And the taxmen who read the old rolls, a guild porter joins you. If masters die, he says, who holds the shop? The ordinances bind us, yet death loosens knots. And the manors?
The shadows grow
My
longer.
brother serves a lord in Essex, he says. If tenants vanish, fields lie bare. You watch the torchlight fade along the bank. Law, guild, tithe and tally all stand for now. The river moves on beneath the night sky, and you remain, listening to water and distant wheels.